afternoon, everybody. It's your boy Mark and MUFC fan, and you know what it is. It's the Transfermarkt segment. Guys, what are your thoughts? What's going on in the Premier League right now with transfers? I can bring you a list of transfers, a lot of topics heating up, and we're gonna start with Manchester United. Guys, stay tuned. Smash that subscribe button, like and share if you're new, and get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Guys, as we start the show, get in. And a lot of breaking reports today. Big up to you, Stephanie Griffith, coming in early as usual. Thank you for being here. Big up to Shay, Arsenal fan. What's up, my guy? How are your days going? What is looking on in Arsenal's transfer market? Guys, I don't think Arsenal is going to be getting Ivan Toney, as the 100 million price tag seems to be too much for the Gunners, as well as Toney has been reported as saying that he owes a lot and he needs to repay Brentford for sticking by him and supporting him during his ban for gambling addiction. Guys, your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. There seems to be a pivot. Stephanie, I'm going to get right to that. Truly. And you know what? To be fair, the Dortmund looks good on him in my opinion, but he's part Trinidadian, so like I back him to wear red, white, and black always. It's the national color, man. You know what I'm saying? But let's get right into some breaking news, and I'm gonna talk about Manchester United first, then I'll move on to the rest of the league. Guys, what are your thoughts? Let me know what you're thinking. And as Stephanie is saying, Jadon Sancho, Man United, and Borussia Dortmund have reached an agreement over Jadon Sancho. No buy option, but United pays 100K a week of his wages. Guys, what are your thoughts? Get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Do you like this deal for Manchester United, or is this a problem? You know what I mean? I don't really think it's a bad thing if you look at it from the perspective that there's no buy option. So if Sancho performs really, really well, we have all control on the price we can sell him for, which means that he is still our asset and we can determine where he goes. And if he performs well, he goes for a lot of money. If he doesn't perform well, we can still sell him to Dortmund because they would definitely make an offer. Guys, what are your thoughts? Get in the comments. Let me know. I wish Jadon Sancho well. I can't say that he's done nothing but hurt his own career by doing what he did. He's really disrespected the fans, in my opinion. And if I had to say as on a personal level, I think, I expected more from him, more maturity. I expected him to have a stronger character, and do like what, Dwight York did, what Cristiano Ronaldo did, David Beckham did. All of those guys did before him at Manchester United. They took the criticism, they worked 10 times harder, and they showed it on the pitch, and this is why I do not like what's happening with Sancho. And yes, we're saving a lot of money on Jadon Sancho's weekly salary, guys. So this is a positive for Manchester United in one way. You know what I mean? A lot of people are thinking, it's very difficult and it's going to be, how should I say it? Negative on Ten Hag, that we won't be bringing any signings and we're going to get players out. But, on the flip side, it could be a positive because maybe then you get you get some players out on loan, you get rid of some of the deadwood as well, or maybe some players that maybe not in the manager's plans, and then he has a condensed squad of players that he knows and he trusts, and then we can get some more consistency going. And I think this is a time, a very valuable, lucky time for the youth at Manchester United. And I'm going to talk about one of those youth. Excuse me, sorry. I was going to talk about one of those youth later on, but I will bring it up early because because you know what? This is what I was going to mention. It's about patience. And, this is a very, very talented young player, Isak Hansen Aron. He's from Norway, very, very good on the ball, technical ability beyond his years. But one thing that strikes me with him is that he's not that physical. And, it's been a problem if you look at his stats in the league. He loses the ball a lot, you know. But I mean, at the same time, he's got so much football IQ, like I also agree that he should be given more chances in the first team. But at the same time, it's like the team is not so stable. Ten Hag is already given so many chances to different players, young players, the likes of Hannibal Mejbri, which I actually think he's not that good. There's other players like Kobe Main who have been speaking about so much. He is amazing, every bit of what I was predicting that he would be. I think he's going to even exceed those expectations as he progresses with his maturity. I also would like to see more of Dan Gore. He's got his debut recently. There's Willie Kwambala, who's played 3 games now. There's lots of players who are doing things and coming through as young players, but patience. A lot of people say, we need to give the youth chances. We need to give them chances. But at the same time, Manchester United is in 7th, and we want to finish the season in a higher place, maybe in 4th or 5th, stay in Europe. And then next season, we could give more youth a chance. But you know what? At the same time, I think based on this transfer window, not being able to bring in much players, may not even bring in players, if that's a possibility, then the youth will have their chances. Youth will have their time. Joe Hugel will get his chance. Lots of players will get their chances, and they have to take it. Big up to you, Strasbourg Steve. Thank you so much for coming in and shouting me out, my bro. Always tuned into your streams as well. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you, man. And Stephanie's coming in. Exactly. Players must bide their time, work hard, knuckle down, and grab the chances when it arrives. And this is one of the things I've been saying. Richard Hutchinson is coming in. Hi, Mark. Breaking news. Manchester United are going to bring back Alex Ferguson. They're going to buy Haaland and Mbappe. You know what, bro? That's so funny. Thanks. You made my day with that joke, man. But you know what? We don't need all of those things. You know what? A lot of people are disappointed in the performances of Manchester United so far this season. At the same time, I am. But come on, in a rebuild, and Ten Hag was given a 3-year contract, not a 2-year contract. So definitely it's a more long-term, mid-term than a short-term solution. And we've seen what he can do if he's just focusing on getting results without really a play style, doing it based on pragmatism. This season, he's implemented his style, and it might not have worked initially for the first couple games, or it might have had lots of issues during the first couple games, but slowly but surely, as his style is being implemented, the problems are being worked out. And that's exactly what you want. I think a lot of people are judging him based on the fact last season they should have had built on the style of play, but we were never meant to play the style of play we played last season. That was just to get results. This season is what it's about. Maybe he should have changed his style of play and enforced it last season, but that did not happen. So we have to move on from the past. This is what's happening right now, and this is what he's doing right now. So it's either you deal with the problems now, the pain now, the hurt now, or we do this cycle for another 4 or 5 years before we even settle down. And we might not even get a better manager. Because you know what guys not thinking about? What if Poch gets sacked and we sack Ten Hag and he goes to Chelsea and then he dominates us? These things can happen, guys. It's crazy. I know it's weird, but it's crazy. It could happen. You know what I mean? Is Manchester United going to get Champions League position and win any trophies? Richard, it's too early, man. It's too early. But you know what? I actually did think we would get into top 4 this season despite the bad performances, because we have been on the same trajectory almost identically as last season. Last season, we were at 32 points at this same stage, and then we ended up on 75 points, the highest points total of any manager since Alex Ferguson. Why can't Ten Hag do the same thing this season? We're on 31 points, 1 point less than we were at the same stage last season. And I know a lot of people are expecting Spurs to do one of us, but it doesn't really happen like that, man. There's 2 sides to every season. There's one game you play at home and one game you play away. And Manchester United have shown last season that they can beat every single team in the league at least once in a season. So this season, sure, we have lost to City. We drew Liverpool. So that's a positive. We lost to Arsenal. But last season, we also beat that Arsenal and we also beat Man City. So it could happen. And we have beaten Aston Villa, who have beaten those teams handsomely this season. Yes, and Strasbourg Steve is coming in. Pro sports should be all about meritocracy. If you're the best player in your position on the team, you should play until someone else earns it. Full stop. Thank you, man. 100% agree with this statement. I can't ever not say this enough. Can team get out of negativity and out of form? Can Ten Hag get the best out of his team and win anything or top four? Well, we know Ten Hag could win something, right? Because he's won a trophy last season with this team. Could have won two because we played in 2 cup finals. You know what I mean? Something lots of teams haven't been able to do in years, like Arsenal and stuff like that. So you know what I mean? So I think if the team can, get some consistency in the defensive work going, get more consistency in midfield, I think, eventually the forwards will get the confidence. They will find that harmony amongst each other and they will score goals. One thing is for certain, when Manchester United forwards are playing well, they score multiple goals in a game. That's something that we have not seen last season. Last season, we've won so many games to a 1-goal margin that this season, if we were to score in every game coming up to the next 18 games, we would exceed our point total or goal total from last season easily. You know what I mean? So guys, I know it looks bleak, but remember one thing, it's a rebuild. And whether or not we have all these amazing history, it's the history. 10 years we have not spoke about standards, we have not upheld any standards, and change is upon us. You know what I mean? And in order for the ethos to change, it's gonna have to break at some point. Some things are gonna go wrong, some things are gonna go right. Some favorite players are gonna have to be moved on. And it may not be because they're not performing well, but it just mean because they are part of what the non-title winning United were about. Players like Bruno Fernandes, that's one of my favorite players in the team. But if he gets sold, I know United is gonna change. Marcus Rashford needs to be sold, right? People talk about Anthony having a bad season this season. Marcus Rashford has had 6 terrible seasons. 6. The only 2 good seasons Marcus Rashford had was last season and 2019-20, right? Those were the only 2 good seasons of Marcus Rashford's career. But he's here 9 years later, 9 seasons later, the most senior attacker in the team. And people talk about Ten Hag's talent ID. What about our talent ID? For the last 8 years, it was the hope that killed us with this guy. And then finally, last season, he finally, for the first time in 8 seasons, scored more than 20 goals in the Premier League. Let that sink into everyone. Let that sink in. Because I'm not hating on the guy, but I'm just saying, look how recent bias we are against Anthony. He's had all these allegations against him, just like Mason Greenwood. The only difference was he has to go through it and perform well because he's a $90 million purchase. You know what I mean? And he's not even getting the time. And you know what? In the last 7 games, he's one of the best players on the team. In fact, Marcus Rashford and Garnacho, they owe him 3 assists. 1 from Marcus Rashford and 2 from Garnacho in the West Ham game. They owe him assists. Because when they weren't on form, he was playing well. So guys, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you have to give players time. I know we expect players to hit the ground running. It's Manchester United, but sometimes there are some players who didn't do that. And then it took them a season and then they came out to be special. You know what I mean? Some things happen like that. There are different types of players. Not everything works for everyone. Sure, Doku started off at City. He hit the ground running. He's making a huge impact. What if next season he has a total howler? You never thought about that, right, guys? I mean, based on Haaland's scoring stats this season, he's not even going to be close to the goals he scored last season, guys. You know what I mean? It happens. I'm pretty sure people pegged Haaland to score 40 goals this season. Doesn't look like that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, guys. People talk about Anthony's poor form and Ten Hag's talent ID, but look at Marcus Rashford. He's been the worst player for the last 18 games. And still, people are like, you know what? Let's give him another chance. Another manager might get the best out of this guy. That's probably going to be a decade of saying that. You know what I mean? And Richard Hudson, the one time I'm going to come in and agree with you, we need a clinical striker of the esque of Rooney, Van Persie, Van Nistelrooy, Cole, or Dwight York. 100%. We need a guy who can just bang. You know what I mean? And sometimes a lot of people like all these players and all these, these different things, and they're so, how should I put it? They're able to play at different, multifaceted. They could play multiple different positions. No, I want some specialist guys. I want a guy whose specialty is just scoring goals. That's what I want for a striker. You know what I mean? Strasbourg Sieg is coming in big. Mark, what's your breaking point with Ten Hag? Just like in relationships or friendships, if somebody does something that crosses the line, things aren't ever the same. Well, my breaking point with Ten Hag would be if we finish somewhere in the region of 10th or 12th. That for me would be not of Manchester United standard. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm looking at it from the perspective where when Ten Hag was coming in, I know we were making a shift from a whole philosophy to a new philosophy. I know there were 10 players in this team, 5 of them in the starting 11 that definitely needed to be sold, and they're still here. So, in my opinion, the club hasn't backed him in the way they should have backed a manager in a rebuild. When you're in a rebuild, the most important part of the rebuild is not the players that come in, it's the players that leave the club. And we haven't gotten rid of those players yet. So, I could forgive Ten Hag if he doesn't get top 4 this season. Based off the performances, I could see that the team and the system is working more now than in the first 15 games. I think if we get if we get 1 or 2 players in different positions, it might impact the team greatly. I believe that Ten Hag is doing a great job. You've seen he's not made excuses throughout the entire season when we started off at game week 1 with 16 players injured. He's only talked about the injuries since the transfer window has opened. And he still says he backs his team. He's always backed these players even when the fans hasn't backed them as well. Sure, the coaches are going to make tactical substitutions and changes that we may not agree with. But if they work, they seem genius. If they don't work, they seem like idiots. So it's one of those things where I think we should give the manager another season because, we need to back him with exits more importantly than the players we bring into the club. So one of my breaking point is if we give him another season and then he fails, then yeah. But right now, Ten Hag again for me, he's shown me what he can do in his first season. He came first, played 2 cup finals, came in third, won us one of the cup finals. And if we had a more informed striker at the time, we may have won 2 cup finals last season. So it's one of those things where I say you can only give the manager time and give the team time to, further gel, learn the tactics, and find more cohesion. Stephanie Gifford is coming in. Purge United required last summer needs to start happening this January, but more likely in the summer. Yeah, I kind of agree with that statement. You know what I mean? Anthony scored 8 goals in all comps last season. Sancho scored 12, only 12 goals in 82 games. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, to be honest, Stephanie, like, I kind of rate Sancho, and I just don't like what he did. I don't like his attitude. I don't like, the kind of precedent he set when he disrespect the manager. Like, for me, I don't see the big point, and I don't see what's so wrong if your manager criticizes you. You didn't train well? You didn't train well. How bad is that? People try to make it seem like people are going to think you're a bad egg because the manager said you didn't have a good training session this week. No, you just didn't have a good training session this week. You just didn't train well this week, so you didn't make the squad. It's pretty normal to me. I feel like people are over exaggerating the issue, and I think Alex Ferguson has done worse and said worse. And Richard Hutchinson is coming in here and he's saying, Ten Hag doesn't have the man management level of a manager like Alex Ferguson, and I think you're drastically wrong. And if you're saying that, I would question if you have ever seen Alex Ferguson's methods and coaching style over the years, because Alex Ferguson, I have seen him cuss out players, sub them off, bin them, get rid of them, and no one has made as much fuss. You know what I mean? I've seen players come on and score goals in 2 games, and I've seen them sat on the bench for weeks and never come on, never start a game till like 5, 6, 7 games later. Look at Chicharito. Chicharito scored a brace in a game today against Middlesbrough, and he never played again until the Champions League resumed in February. You know what I mean? So guys have to be conscious of the fact that, yes, we like certain players, and yes, you want to see players play, but sometimes let the manager do his thing. You know what I mean? The manager is seeing what we're not seeing. He's there when we're not. And as much as I would like all our fans to be happy with the choices and the team selection every single day, it's unrealistic to think that would happen, in my opinion. Well, obviously, eras change, and dynasties rise and dynasties fall, bro. And to create a dynasty, you need to take time. And I will use Manchester City as an example, right? Manchester City, they took 7 seasons under Pep to win 1 UCL. Pep's 3rd ever UCL trophy in history, right? So he has won 3 UCLs in his career, 1 at Manchester City, 1 at Bayern, and 1 at Barcelona. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this? You know, I'm not saying 13 titles isn't luck. I'm not saying it's lucky or anything like that. I'm saying Pep is a great manager, but I'm saying look at it like this. People have been saying Man City is the best team in the world for the last 5 seasons when he's only won 1 Champions League. He's lost it multiple times to Real Madrid, who, in my opinion, is the best team in the world because they've won the most Champions League in the last 5 years. But at the end of the day, opinions are opinions, right? And all coaches, just like teams, they need time. Look at David Moyes at West Ham. He has been there for how many years now? And look how long it's taken him at West Ham to do as well as he's doing right now. You know what I mean? People will say about Ange Postecoglou at Spurs, but if you look at Spurs, Spurs had everything set up basically. They have the best facilities, they have a brand new stadium, they have all these new training facilities, and they had all these players who did not fit Conte's system, but they certainly did fit an attacking, expansive system. So when they got an attacking, expansive coach, it's no wonder that they had a full starting 11 of players who fit that system, especially when they brought in 4 players that the manager wanted initially as well. And they are 4 key starters in his squad. So, guys, everyone's rebuild has different stages and different circumstances based on different reasons. So comparing them all like it's the same thing sometimes is difficult. Look at Chelsea. Chelsea might be the bum team this season, mid-table man them, right? But they have 22 young players under the age of 25. And, at some point in time, they're going to get it right. It's going to happen. It might be the first season for them. And they might finish 10th, 15th even this season. But next season, these guys might win more games than they lose. And suddenly they might be in top 4 contention next season. Or maybe even the season after that. You never know what could happen. Because this is how football works. It's not just written on paper. You don't just have the best players, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. You just bring in a manager and in 6 weeks, everything changes. It doesn't work like that. This ain't FIFA, guys. So hard work, right? Teamwork and mentality. All these things come into play, as well as, learning the manager system. And you have to remember, guys, especially Manchester United fans, we changed our entire philosophy all but last year around this time. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where time is the only thing. Let's see what Ange's second season brings. Let's see what the second half of this season brings, because everyone is talking about Eddie Howe is a great manager at Newcastle. Look at what he's done. I'll tell you what Eddie Howe has done at Newcastle. He's finished below Ten Hag in the cup, in the league, and he's been behind Ten Hag in the league all season, this season. So despite Man United in poor form, they're still ahead of Newcastle all season long, as well as Chelsea. And imagine, no fans, no, the media isn't pressuring Poch. They're not pressuring Eddie Howe. In fact, people are saying, you know what, Eddie Howe is doing a brilliant job at Newcastle. But then they're criticizing Erik Ten Hag. Where did Eddie Howe finish last season? In 4th. Behind Erik Ten Hag in 3rd. Where has Eddie Howe been for the last 11 weeks? In 8th position, behind Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag. It's the same with Poch and Chelsea. Chelsea's been in 10th for the last 2 months. They've been in 10th since October. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, I'm just looking at it from the sideline thinking, yeah, we're criticizing Erik Ten Hag. He's an awful coach. But then Eddie Howe's amazing. When he has a amazing structure, a top football director that we are trying to get at Manchester United, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know what Eddie Howe has that Ten Hag doesn't have? He has the patience of his fan base. And that's the deciding factor, in my opinion. That's why Newcastle is doing so well. That's the biggest thing why Newcastle is doing well, in my opinion. Sure, they have quality players. Sure, Eddie Howe is a really good coach. In my opinion, he's a good coach. I think Erik Ten Hag has a little bit more experience than him because of the Champions League and what he's done in the Champions League. But at the same time, I would never say Eddie Howe is a shit coach. I think Poch is a shit coach. But I think Eddie Howe is a good coach. But I also think that a big, big factor is that the way the Newcastle fans are supporting the project. You know, United fans forget that we were supporting the project last year. Look how well it did. We had a team of players that every single fan in United was talking about. We need him out. He's walking. He doesn't play for the badge. Ten Hag came in. We came 3rd, played in 2 cup finals, and look at it. Now we can get a next manager to get the best out of these players because Ten Hag is loony. Ten Hag is crazy. Strasbourg Steve is coming in big, big. It's true. What I would say is expectations are very different for us compared to Manchester United, but your point is correct. 100% Strasbourg. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, I mean, at the same time, from when I grew up, you know, Newcastle was always a big club, in my opinion. You know, they might not have the fan base at the size of Manchester United, but from when I was like 10, you're watching Newcastle on television every day, you know what I mean, playing football. So Newcastle was always one of those big clubs for me, historically. And I think Eddie Howe is a better coach than Southgate by far, bro. Like, the class Eddie Howe with Southgate is a bit disrespectful, man. Bit disrespectful. I'm patient with Eddie Howe and Newcastle, but yeah, of course, this is big. You must criticize. You know, of course, you're gonna criticize lots of things: the manager's selections, the players, the way the players play, or whatever. But you know, you still have to have some patience because you know a manager can implement a system. Some players might catch on to the system in 6 weeks. Some players might take 6 months. Some players might take 6 years. That's just how it works. Not everyone works the same way. I think we could afford to be patient because we were relegated. Maybe. You know, I think Newcastle, for the size of your fan base, you know, I think you could blame all the relegation stuff and all that on the former ownership and stuff. I think now Newcastle is going to be one of those teams already that's going to always be expected to finish in the top 6, top 8 teams going forward, based on the performance, the size of the fan base and stuff like that, and the new ownership model and stuff like that. You know, let me just run through some of the rest of the news that's happening right now. You know, as I confirm, Anthony Martial, Fenerbahce has shown interest. They want him to be the head of their project, but the United forward has rebuffed approaches from numerous clubs in favor of staying at Old Trafford until the summer. You know, guys, this is one of those things where I think he's being really smart and selfish because, you know, it's going to benefit him 100% to get that signing bonus if he leaves on a free. And guys, I think Manchester United should head this off by paying off his contract and getting him out in January. But who knows if the negotiation staff or the club will take said actions. Get your comments in. Let me know what you're thinking. Antonio Silva, guys. It's said that Chelsea and Manchester United are dueling for the Benfica defender. I don't know why there are so many reports about Manchester United based on the fact that, there's still a ratification process to go on with Sir Jim and Ineos takeover. And, there's not much money in the kitty. At least we're not sure. But we do know that there's some information out there that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is about to give a boost of funding that will allow Manchester United to spend somewhere in the region of 300 to 400 million pounds, this summer. And you know what? Maybe if they want to avoid some of those duels and, transfer wars, they might try to snatch one or two of these players out of the transfer budget in January. That much I can be sure you. Breaking news, guys. Facundo Pellistri offered to Benfica in a swap deal for their centre-back, Morten Hjulmand. Guys, I have not seen much of this player. I know his face from watching Benfica play, but I've never paid much attention to him really because I've always been looking at two other players on the Benfica team. So it's one of those things where I have to look more at him. But from what I have been hearing, he's been setting the Portuguese league afire right now with his performances. Very consistent this season, has been breaking out since the last season, and is expected to be interested in a move to the Premier League. Will Manchester United make this deal? Will there be a swap? The reports are there. A lot of information says that the talks are happening and ongoing, just like there are talks for a swap deal between, Manchester United and Everton, who are facing an approach from Arsenal at this minute for the same player in question, Amadou Onana, when they are trying to get their hands on Manchester United's Scott McTominay. Guys, your thoughts, let me know in the comments. What are you thinking? Yeah, man. Team in the EPL won't spend big in January. Yeah, loan deals of 40 million. Yeah, in my opinion, maybe we spend like a 40, 50 million and get some cheap players in. There were some reports that we were in for this youngster. His name is Oscar Zambrano from Bournemouth. Well, he's actually from, Ecuador, and Bournemouth were front runners to sign him, but Manchester United are currently in heavy talks with his agent and trying to bring him to Old Trafford. There's also some information right now coming out where Isaac Hansen Oren is set to leave. I mentioned that before. It was one of the earlier topics. And Rooney Bardaji, the winger from Copenhagen, amid interest of Manchester United, comes out in a statement to say it's a dream as he sends a transfer message to Manchester United links, replying to a reporter who was questioning him recently after a game. He was reported as saying, hearing of the interest of Manchester United is a dream for me. These types of clubs are giants in Europe, as he was reported as to saying. And Manchester United are very keen to avoid a battle with Real Madrid for the signature of Jarrad, Branthwaithe, the Everton defender, who has been turning heads all over Europe this season as his performances have been nothing short of mature and stalwart. Guys, your thoughts in the comments. This defender is said to be rated at a possible 90 million to 100 million pounds. Will United make this deal to avoid a battle with Real Madrid this summer? Guys, get your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. And it's been revealed short moments ago that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's stance on Mason Greenwood's future at the club is and has been revealed. And his reports are saying that he has been quoted as saying that Mason Greenwood, he is a youngster. He is from this football club. He has made a mistake, and now he is gone to do his time and show us that he has matured and he can be a valuable asset to this club. And as he says that, he means, and was translated as saying, that Mason Greenwood, based on his performance at Getafe, can earn his position back in the Manchester United starting 11. And this is breaking news from Sir Jim Ratcliffe speaking to the press. Guys, this is a big one. Exciting news for me because I think the Manchester United attack sorely misses that two-footed monster that we call MG11. Well, he won't be 11 anymore, but I think he's going to get the number 7. And guys, you can clip me now. When Mason Greenwood gets that number 7, you're going to say, I told you so. Guys, what are your thoughts? Get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. There are certainly deals that could be done by Manchester United. As reported, Paulo Dybala, there's still 7 days left for his 10 million pound release clause. Could Man United trigger this option? Guys, what are your thoughts? Paulo Dybala, I think if he goes to either Manchester United or Newcastle or even Chelsea, it's going to be a great move for the player and for any one of those clubs. Big up to you, GB. See, you're getting in here. No worries for being late, my bro. And Strasbourg is coming in. Steve is saying, Benfica are my Portuguese club I support. I would welcome Pedestri because we need a right wing. So maybe, Steve, could you give us some information about that player that I was mentioning just now? I don't know too much about him. I've seen him in the game. I've never really focused on him, but I've seen that he's done a few good things when I watch the game. He's one of the good performers in the team. That much I can say, but I really don't know too much. I don't really know how. I don't want to butcher his name as well, bro. So maybe you could give me some information about what you think about him, about Hjulmund Mortens, I think his name is. Oh, Dybala for cheap. That's a rare opportunity to take a cheap gamble and such. Yes, he is immensely talented. I agree with you there, Steve. You know. Oh, his name is the guy's name is Morten Hjulmand or something like that. Hjulmand. This guy right here. If you want, I could send you an invitation and you could come right in and say and talk about him if you have the time, Steve. You know what I mean? I just don't really know much about him, so it's one of those things where I can't really comment too much. There's also some reports that is linking Manchester United to up another possible move that might see Alvaro Fernandez also join your team, Strasbourg, Steve, in Benfica. You know, but I'm not too sure what's going to happen with that one because I am certainly one of the fans that believes that Alvaro Fernandez deserves to be a starter at Manchester United or maybe a very regular rotational player. Oh, big up to you, my bro. Thanks for getting in, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How
Oh,
you
what's up,
doing,
man? How you doing,
man?
Mark?
Chilling, enjoying the day, just bringing out some transfer information there. And I was going over that article, but I didn't know too much about the player. I could barely say his name. I've been butchering it all afternoon. Maybe you could help me out with that and give me some information on what you think about
Um,
him.
yeah, from what I've seen of Hillman, he doesn't play. He's not a lockdown starter in the Sporting team. It's usually Gonçalves, the Japanese guy there, Morita as well, who usually starts some more games over Hillman. What I've seen from him, he's a decent player. Not really a goal scoring threat, but a guy that can kind of does a nice job kind of linking attack, particularly from wing back to forward. But I haven't seen too much of him. But whenever I've seen him, he looks all right. Looks all right.
So what, he's
Sporting
a
got some talent.
midfielder or something? He's a midfielder.
Yeah, yeah, midfielder, but does cover a lot of ground also from what I've seen. But yeah, I mean, look, Sporting, Benfica, and Porto, those guys produce gems every single year, and I don't even think the three Portuguese sides are at their very best this year. This Porto team isn't very good compared to, I've been watching them for about 6 years now. the Portuguese league consistently, and it's not the best one I've seen. That's for sure. Very unconvincing at times. Sporting are a bit erratic, a bit too up and down, hot and cold, and Benfica have just been very gun shy. For me, not clinical enough. Those kind of things. A lot of difficulties coping with Grimaldo, him leaving to Leverkusen. The left hand side of the attack is just dead, really. It's all Rafa Silva kind of doing things. But look, um, these Portuguese teams, they always got talent, and you know what it is? They do an excellent job of getting the most out of their player when they sell them. They make a lot of
100%.
money on their players. You think of Ederson.
100%.
You think of Fabio Silva wasn't even a lockdown starter at Porto. Still got 45 million out of Arsenal for him. He barely plays for them. Struggled with injuries. Struggled with coming to Arsenal. So they make a lot of money on their players. They make a lot of money on their players. A lot of them do work out. A lot of them do work
Yeah,
out in the Premier League. And you know what? It's no surprise actually, because if you think about it, you have the big three in Portugal, and then you have some decent teams that can maybe challenge, get top four, Braga and Vitória Guimarães. Other than that, if you're Benfica and you're playing against those Aruca, Rio Ave, those kind of teams, you're facing low blocks week in, week out, home and away.
100%.
Um,
100%.
unless you come up against a Braga team that like to attack, or Vitória Guimarães or whoever, or Porto or Sport, So you do face a lot of low blocks, right? And what are Portuguese and Spanish players? What's their biggest quality over the years? What makes a Portuguese or Spanish player them? Technical
Dribble
ability.
ability.
Technical ability. Exactly. Exactly. So
The dribble,
look,
carry the ball well. Them kind of things.
exactly. They can
Yeah.
cross the ball accurately. They can dribble in tight spaces. They have excellent football IQ. They can pick out passes. So look, it's no surprise to me why a lot of teams are linked with these players, because it's a very easy recipe. I mean, think about it. When Arsenal play teams, they face low blocks. When
Hmm.
teams come up to St. James's Park, we're facing low blocks. When Man City
100%.
play almost anyone, even Real Madrid, they can force Real Madrid to play a low block against them, home or away. So it's important to have those kind of players familiar with those kind of situations. So
Yeah. And like I see, like this is another one that I was reading about recently. Alvaro Fernandez, I
yeah,
think they're thinking of making a trade with him to Benfica to get the Jao Neves deal across the line, because they've been trying to get their hands on Jao Neves. But he's one of those players that I've seen in preseason for Manchester United, and it strikes me as, why is he not in our squad? Why is he not in our starting 11 or coming on every other match day, giving some minutes, here and
yeah,
there? And it's just one of those things where it's just confusing me. I don't want him to go to Benfica because Rui Costa was one of my favorite players growing up, but that guy is a mercenary when it comes to selling these lads.
yes, he
He
is.
just got his hands on Marcos Leonardo, who was a target for Manchester United. I was hoping that,
Santos, yeah,
yeah, we could have gotten him in the summer last season, because he rejected Roma thinking that we would come in for him, and we didn't. And now he's gone to Benfica. That's 180 million if you're trying to get him next year. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. I also wanted to ask you. I know you're pretty big on your French football, and this youngster,
oh my
Manchester
word.
United have been looking at
Ooh,
him, and I heard he's been cold. I watched 2 games of him recently, so
excellent.
he has that potential. He looks very he doesn't look like he's 17, to be honest.
Hmm.
Like the way he plays, he has this kind of aggressive kind of way he gets to the ball, and he looks around, he scans, and he does his thing. He looks more experienced than a 17-year-old. What are your thoughts on Lenny Euro?
I mean, look, this guy is so talented. Whether he's playing next to Jose Font, who recently left, used to play at Southampton, old geezer, but I've seen him play with him before. I've seen him play with Tiago Jallo before. I've seen him play with Alexandre Ribeiro before. I've seen him play next. There was another center back in there. I don't think he was there when Botman was there, because I would have been coming up on about 2 seasons ago, but he's coped with everything immensely well. Immensely well. The kid has some serious recovery pace, can play on a high line. Good instinctive defender. I think he's one of those defenders where he can see if it's a counterattack. He knows when to drop back a bit and to kind of sniff out challenges. I I don't even know if he's mistake prone, but that would probably maybe be the only thing that you could nail him down on. But the guy is incredible for his age. The
Yeah, I
guy is
mean, for his age,
incredible.
if he's making
Very,
some
very
mistakes, I think that's
yeah.
perfectly normal. 17 years old, you're gonna have to make some mistakes at one in a while.
Of
You know
course.
what I mean?
Of course, and
And
at Lille, again, another we were just talking about Portuguese clubs, all the talent that they've sold down the years. Lille have produced some gems. They've found some gems and sold them for big, big money. So it's a good place to buy from. They have a great academy as well. So they're always turning out some good players. So you can't
100%.
go
Like,
wrong.
I mean, like it's France, like there are certain places, their academies are always at the top level. It's like La
Yeah.
Masia in Spain, Real Madrid, and
Benfica's academy.
this brings me to this player right here, who I
Mm,
recently read today that Newcastle are showing some interest in. They're not too sure, but at 15 million pounds, it's a steal of a deal. You know what I
that
mean? I
is it.
think Man United, West Ham already in advanced talks, but I think for a club like Man United, or maybe even your club, who have seen lots of injuries just like mine this
Yeah.
season, it's one of those things where you know you need an attacker who could come in and show fitness. And if it's one thing he has shown in the Bundesliga last season, that he is a fit player that is available, and
Mhm.
availability is one of those things that to me is an asset. He scored about 10 goals, I think, last season. He had a decent season, I would say. But this season, it's all working for him. You know what I mean? 17 goals in 14 games.
Yeah.
What can we say about this guy?
I mean, my God, look, this guy. So Wolfsburg Stuttgart, they had a new manager, Sebastian Hoeneß, has come in. The guy likes to switch it up, and this is what I like about Girassi so far. He's being able to play in two different formations they like to use a lot: 4-2-2 and a 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, however you want to. More of a 3-4-2-1, I'd probably say, because kind of attacking mid versus wingers, but whatever. I like the fact that he can play them both, and they get consistent service, lots of possession, lots of shots. Very clinical, Girassi this season. Everything is just is he's having one of those seasons where every single thing he's doing is touching the gold. I mean, the guy has some really, really good calmness in front of goal. If you think about, not to toot Newcastle's horn, but like Isak for me, one of the best qualities about him is composure, calmness. When he scores goals and he's finishing off chances, he makes it look easy. He makes it look like any of us could do it, and it obviously it isn't that easy because we see
True,
other players
true.
really, really mess up. Something in their head is just not connecting with their feet when they try to score goals. So he's got that in the bag. Definitely good at C. Um, Good at penalties. I mean, the hold up play, he's strong as an ox. I don't think this Premier League physicality would bother that guy one bit. Um, but yeah, I think that would be I would welcome Girassi at Newcastle for sure because as awesome as Callum Wilson is, he's missed a lot of time ever since we signed him in 2018-19. About 38 games he's missed, and that's a full season. If
That's our full season, to be
yeah,
fair.
so
Yeah,
and he is coming towards kind of the end of his career potentially, so might be one of those where we might wanna maybe, sell him and bring in a Guirassy for a very cheap option. Look, this guy could be having a career maybe similar to a Ciro Immobile, right? Immobile before he
100%.
went to Lazio in 2016, he was a guy that was started out at Juventus, got loaned out here, loaned out there, loaned to Borussia Dortmund, did nothing, loaned at Sevilla, did nothing, had a good season with Torino, and then all of a sudden joins Lazio, scores 200 goals over the next 7 years, and is the leading goal scorer of Lazio all time, considering and you got to think about considering the caliber of players Lazio used to have this incredible, quite frankly. So you never know. You players can have this career renaissance sort of thing at a late age. Maybe Solanke could be one of them or whatever. So it's for the price tag especially. You just don't get again, like I said in the comments about Dybala. You don't find those kind of players with that ability for 13 million euros. That's impossible to find nowadays. Impossible.
100%.
Especially of a guy that has played in Champions League, has played for Argentina, has played for Juve, has won stuff with Juve. you know, in that Roma team, he's the spark plug of that whole team's offense, winning penalties, assists, goals, creative play on the right. Like, you don't find that kind of player available for 13 mil. So for
Yeah,
me, if I
well,
was
it's 10
thinking
million pounds, so
10 million
that's why I
pounds,
put 10 million pounds. So, like, because of the conversion. So that's why I
insane.
was saying that, yeah, it's 10 million pounds because euros is less than the pound in
Yep.
conversion. So that's what I was saying. And then, the last but not least, my bro, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this because I know both our clubs are kind of interested in this. I've heard that
Mm,
United have sniffed around, but I know he's coming from Saudi Arabia, so it immediately links me to Newcastle. And I think this might be one of the options that might, as you were saying, Colin Wilson, he's been, not been,
very injury
there
prone.
kind of injury prone. And I could see y'all making this work because, he's, it kind of facilitates the wages he might be looking for. And, even though your club might not have a system of high wages for players, I mean, this could be the one time you make an exception for a short period of time, maybe for a year or something where you have this one player and he's going to be a shirt seller. He's going to sell
Of
mad
course,
shirts
of
because
course.
it's Karim Benzema at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So, while a lot of the fan base at Manchester United are not too keen on Karim Benzema based on some of the issues that may have happened to him over the years, you know what
Mm,
I mean? I'd say based on football, I'd take him for 6 months just as much as I would take Sergio Garassi because we need a
yeah.
clinical forward up front to score goals. What are your thoughts, man?
Bro, look, both of our clubs are in a position where things can get shaky really quick, right? Different circumstances, obviously, with both clubs, but we're both still in the FA Cup, still want to finish as high as possible in the Premier League, all that kind of stuff. Um, with Isak being injury prone a little bit as well, let's be honest. He has missed some time for Newcastle, but again, just like Callum Wilson bangs in goals usually when he does play, probably a 1 in 3, 1 in 4 kind of guy, both Wilson and Isak. Yeah, I mean, the one stumbling block maybe for you guys would be the fact that he does earn 100 million euros a year in his contract for Saudi. Would Al Nasser just say, okay, you can take him for half for 50? So maybe that would be the stumbling block. But let's say that works itself out, the numbers and the money side. Yeah, you do it all day. I mean, what do you have to lose
Yeah,
at
I
this
mean,
point, right? That's a fantastic player for someone like Rasmus Højlund to learn
to
off of.
learn from.
To look,
Exactly.
because Benzema is a complete striker. He's got the movement, the instincts, heading ability. He's scored with his left and right. He's been able to provide assists. The thing about the so underrated about Benzema's career at Real Madrid. Not only did he do it as the not the main piece of the puzzle. He was obviously the BBC front three. He wasn't the main guy. That was always Cristiano Ronaldo, right? But when Ronaldo left for Juventus, Benzema stepped up to the plate when Real Madrid needed that. So that's huge. That's huge. So he's done it in two different at the same club, but in two different circumstances, his role and status. So you do that all day, man. And I would take him obviously at Newcastle too, because why not? You know what I mean? That the guy has proven to be elite throughout his whole career, going back to his Lyon days where he was excellent. So yeah, why not? Why not? If you can make the money work out, you do it all day. You do it all
Yeah,
day. If it doesn't work out, then it happens, man.
yeah, man. And it's one of those things. It's like for me, I don't really have too much gripe with certain things, especially when it, based on the timing of it happening. And, I always look at the football focus first. You know,
Mm,
it's a football club. Sure, it's a
facts,
business and all those good things and
facts.
whatever. But the main focus should always be performing on the football pitch first,
Winning
performance on the
games,
pitch,
winning
winning
trophies.
games, winning trophies, because at
Yeah,
the end of the day,
name of
we're
the
not
game.
in here for a popularity contest. We're in here to
Mhm.
win the titles. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's just football. And much love and respect to you, my bro. Thank you so much for pulling up today and jumping in on the stream,
No
man.
problem, man.
Hope you have I normally do this like half an hour every day in the afternoon around this time. So if you ever want to join again, just pop in, bro. I'll drop you the link.
Word,
And
word.
yeah, you know, and
No problem.
guys, for all those joining us, shout outs to all of you, Richard Hutchinson. I know, You always be contentious, man. You always trying to
Hey,
banter
you gotta have
and
them.
stuff.
You gotta have those
Yeah, you
people.
gotta have him. But that's
You gotta have
he's a
'em.
cool one, man.
Yeah.
GB's always here, bro. This guy, he's always in the chat. Thank you to Stephanie Griffith, always pulling up,
Mhm.
chatting away and pumping my chat, making sure the likes go up. You know what? Thank you guys for coming in. Hope you all have a great day. Strasbourg Steve, thank you so much for joining me, my bro. Hope you have a great day. I
Or
will catch up with you later. And thanks, guys. See you all tomorrow for the next show as we out here.